I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century in a way consistent with American interest and the common interest.
The class of 2014, I congratulate you on taking your place on the long gray line. But the world is changing with accelerating speed. This presents opportunity, but also new dangers. It will be your generation's task to respond to this new world. Leaders and dignitaries of the European Union, representatives of our NATO alliance, distinguished guests, we meet here at a moment of testing for Europe and the United States, and for the international order that we have worked for generations to build.
Bring the world new order. Everyone a foreign race, they love the foreign states, then we bring to the world disorder.
The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb.
Previously, there have been several reports, such as the Mayak report in the state of Missouri, but this is the first time that a report such as this actually named individuals. Once you label someone in a derogatory manner, an extremist, a potential militia member, terrorist, whatever term is used, for some people the moniker will remain. Before you can persecute a people, before you can incarcerate large numbers of people, you have to marginalize them. You have to create the image that these people are dangerous to society, or they're extremists or radicals, call them what you will, but marginalize them from the mainstream of society so that at that point the rest of society will accept the persecution that might result upon this group. It's been an age-old strategy that's worked in every totalitarian regime in the history of the world, and that's why we're concerned here in the United States when we see this kind of marginalization going on. Why are they being marginalized? Why are they being singled out as a potential danger to society? And I think it's shades of the strategies and tactics of totalitarian regimes in history past, and that should never happen in this country.
Some in the military now classifying evangelicals and Catholics as, quote, domestic terrorists. It's part of a provision that is supposed to protect religious freedom.
On this one, it was appalling because literally they're training troops before they're going to Afghanistan, and they were training them that evangelical Christians, Catholics, and Mormons were in the same category, listed together with Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and the Ku Klux Klan. And that's just appalling. And when we asked the Secretary about it and whether or not we should protect against it, he just had no response.
The Defense Department has classified Catholics, evangelicals, Jews, and Mormons as religious extremists in military training materials. More than 1,500 pages of documents were just released to the Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty under the Freedom of Information Act. The documents also show the military considered the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate group list as a reliable source.
But ISIS isn't the only threat for Americans. According to an intelligence report by the Department of Homeland Security, authorities are also concerned about right-wing citizens extremists right here in the United States. That may be, in some cases, more dangerous than foreign Islamic terror groups.
Homeland Security sent to law enforcement agencies across the country warning about the potential for an increase in right-wing extremist activity. It warns about groups and individuals dedicated to single issues like abortion, immigration, and gun rights, and even raises a red flag about veterans returning home from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some people, understandably, when they caught word of this yesterday,
folks,
have
we've got
issues
a very
today.
serious situation here. I'm holding what is called the right-wing extremism, current economic and political climate, fueling resurgence and radicalization and recruitment. And in it, we talked about the fact that they define pro-lifers as domestic terrorists. They put this in a Department of Homeland Security document, this official assessment, now saying pro-lifers, people that believe in end-time prophecies, people that are opposed to the administration's position on immigration, those of us that are standing up for the sanctity of life and for the sanctity of marriage, all of those are now potential, and this is what they're saying, domestic terrorists.
Mr. Speaker, the Pope of the Holy See.
Words never before uttered in history to introduce a figure who came to prod this partisan institution to work together for a better future.
That no religion is immune from forms of individual delusion or ideological extremism. This means that we must be especially attentive to every type of fundamentalism, whether religious or of any other kind.
The Pope explained that interreligious dialogue and solidarity can overcome fundamentalism and terrorism.
Occorre contrapporre al fanatismo e al fondamentalismo, alle fobie irrazionali che incoraggiano incomprensioni e discriminazioni, la solidarietà di tutti i credenti.
The question would be, under the provisions, would it be possible that an American citizen then could be declared an enemy combatant and sent to Guantanamo Bay and detained indefinitely?
I think that as long as that individual, no matter who they are, if they pose a threat to the security of the United States of America, should not be allowed to continue that threat. And I think that's the majority of American public opinion, especially in light of the facts that I continue to repeat to the senator from Kentucky. 27% of detainees who were released got back in the fight and were responsible for the deaths of Americans. We need to take every step necessary to prevent that from happening. That's for the safety and security of the men and women who are out there putting their lives on the line in our armed services.
Written in secret by Senator McCain and Senator Carl Levin that would give the U.S. military and not civilian law enforcement agencies the ability to arrest anyone and hold that person indefinitely, even if that person is an American arrested on American soil.
We begin today with a report that could shed some light on the dark practice of torture. Now, this includes everything from stress positions to waterboarding, much of it said to have happened at the Guantanamo Bay prison.
The fourth and final set of findings and conclusions concern how the interrogations of CIA detainees were absolutely brutal, far worse than the CIA represented them to policymakers and others. Beginning with the first detainee, Abu Zubaydah, and continuing with numerous others, the CIA applied its so-called enhanced interrogation techniques in combination and in near-stop fashion for days and even weeks at a time on one detainee. In contrast to CIA representations, detainees were subjected to the most aggressive techniques immediately, stripped naked, diapered, physically struck, and put in various painful stress positions for long periods of time. They were deprived of sleep for days, in one case up to 180 hours. That's 7.5 days over a week with no sleep, usually standing or in stress positions, at times with their hands tied together over their heads, chained to the ceiling. In the Cobalt facility I previously mentioned, Interrogators and guards used what they called rough takedowns, in which a detainee was grabbed from his cell, clothes cut off, hooded, and dragged up and down a dirt hallway while being slapped and punched. The CIA led several detainees to believe they would never be allowed to leave CIA custody alive, suggesting to Abu Zubaydah that he would only leave in a coffin-shaped box. That's a CIA cable from August 12, 2002.
U.S. President Barack Obama has called on nations worldwide to remain relentless in their fight against extremism.
At the United Nations in September, I called on the international community to come together and eradicate this scourge of violent extremism. And I want to thank all of you from across America and around the world for answering this call. We will continue to hunt down terrorists and dismantle their networks, and we reserve the right to act unilaterally, as we have done relentlessly since I took office, to take out terrorists who pose a direct threat to us and our allies.
Good afternoon. I'm Mara Schiavocampo at ABC News headquarters in New York with a digital report on this Sunday afternoon. We begin in France with a massive national day of unity. An estimated 1.3 million people pouring into the streets of Paris, a show of solidarity and defiance after the terrorist attacks in Paris this week. World leaders standing shoulder to shoulder, taking part in the march.
Ground Zero 2015 reminds us of Assisi 1986. Pope Francis in New York, just like Pope St. John Paul II in the city of the Little Friar, invited representatives of world religions to pray in silence, each in his own way, together, to ask heaven for the gift to give ourselves for the cause of peace. Before his speech, Pope Francis said a prayer to the God of peace, asking him to bring peace to our violent world. Afterwards, there followed meditations from representatives of the Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Muslim, and Hebrew religions, as well as Orthodox and evangelical Christians.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.